people did not think that we will actually be able to pull off the G20, to be very honest. It's a question I ask even myself at times, even though I was involved in it. There are G20 leaders in the room. Who is going to say no to Narendra Modi? It was as simple as that. There are many aspects to it. I will come to the most difficult one. The most difficult one, very honestly, was that people did not think that we will actually be able to pull off the G20, to be very honest. You know, once we did it, everybody said, yes, yes, I knew it was going to happen. But till the morning when we actually got 20 countries to agree to something, if any of you look back, look at the tweet, look at the day's newspaper, look at the day's television coverage, the general thinking was that this was not going to happen. Okay. Why did it happen? It's a question I ask even myself at times, even though I was involved in it. I think it happened partly for two reasons. One, we actually decided that in a sense we would raise the stakes, we will create so many outcomes in the G20 that nobody really wants to be the person who pulled it down or who didn't cooperate in it. So the higher the stakes you made the G20, the greater was the incentive or the pressure on countries to actually come along with it. So if you look at that G20, you know, this G20 which we did will have consequences and results which will carry on for many, many years. Because it has put in place an action plan on sustainable development goals, sustainable development goals have fallen behind. These are the very basic things for those of you who are not familiar. Sustainable development goals are an agreement that the world had that by 2030, the basic needs of health, of education, of water, of quality of life, the basic needs of the entire world would be met by 2030. The problem was those 2.5 years of COVID, it actually set the world back very, very badly. So by the time we hit 2023, it was very clear that something, we needed a kind of a supercharged effort at sustainable development goals. And this was one of the understandings that the G20 reached. The second was that people spoke about green development. But they were speaking about green development without resourcing green development. So the idea that ambitions and resources have to go in step. The third is something we are all familiar with, digital public infrastructure. Now, till this G20, the one which we chaired, actually the world had not accepted the idea of a digital public infrastructure. That if you look at I would say the American digital tradition, it's very corporate driven. It is very much a service between a corporate and a citizen. It is less so with Europe, but with so much emphasis on data privacy that the ability to deliver services is not that efficient. India has actually been a pioneer at getting that right balance. That today, and the most obvious example is actually the CoWIN platform. The fact that we could rapidly create a platform where 2.5 billion vaccines were administered and, administered in an orderly fashion and these certificates given was possible because we had a digital backbone. It is that digital backbone today in hundreds of ways is changing our life. People are today getting ration because of that digital backbone. Women are getting unsecured loans. In fact, street vendors are getting loans. And they're getting loans and they're paying it back because they're digitally connected. Farmers are getting money for fertilizers and seeds. And we are talking of hundreds of millions of people. That people are getting houses, people are getting gas cylinders. Why is this possible on that scale? You know, what used to be done in lakhs, in hundreds of thousands, today is being done in hundreds of millions. And that digital public infrastructure, I would say to me, was the most powerful carry away, and one which I am convinced will actually end up shaping a very large part of the world. There are some other issues also. We discussed how, you know, we would reform the World Bank. There were issues relating to women-led development, but the fact that we piled that agenda that high, I think made it very difficult for people to not cooperate. The second, honestly, was India's own weight. And I mean, when I say India's own weight, I mean, I ask you a question. There are G20 leaders in the room. Who is going to say no to Narendra Modi? It was as simple as that.